Readers, as I was grocery shopping this week and thinking about my healthy eating goals, I quickly became overwhelmed with how to make the best decision. Would I buy the rice cakes or do I buy the potato chips? Both choices were the low-fat potato chips. Both choices were better than what I used to do, but it's still an overwhelming decision to make. You have multiple choices. So just then, I took a deep breath, I paused, and I reminded myself that healthy eating, it might be a challenge, but I think I'm well prepared for it. So today, I want to teach you that making decisions about anything can be made easier when you have strategies to assist you. As readers, we can use our nonfiction reading skills and have an inner conversation to find the right answer to multiple choice questions. So yesterday we read our article and determined that it had the qualities of both fiction and nonfiction, and this is known as narrative nonfiction. So the factual information is presented in a narrative style using literary techniques. So remember, it reads like a fiction, but it's all true. So knowing this information, when I read the text or any other like it, I'm going to think about it in two ways. So I'm going to read it as information, and I'm going to read it as a story. So this can help me think about what questions might be asked. One of the things I might think about is, what are the characters' traits? What are the characters' motivations? That's a way I can read it as a story. So let's take a look at a question together. Here's question 31. It says, read this sentence from paragraph 7. Now it gives me the sentence. They know this is a woman who can take them places. How does the author best support this point? A, by explaining how Gators helps many of her players attend college. B, by describing the long hours of practice Gators makes her players perform. C, by providing examples of how Gators helps players in need. D, by providing examples of the basketball trips Gators teaches her players. Now, remembering that when reading narrative nonfiction, I'm always thinking about the subject's traits and motivations, I kind of have an idea for my answer. But what would a logical next step be? Take some time to think about it. I think I know the answer, but I'm not sure. What would my next step be? Go back to the text. I'm going to go back to the text. The question gives us an idea and tells us exactly where to look in the article. So it says paragraph 7, so I'm going to go back to paragraph 7, but I'm also going to look at 6 and 8 so that I can read around the quote and read around the question. So let's take a look at this part of the text. Gators later explains, sloppy play is never enjoyable. Sometimes I'll be like, I hope this game is over soon. I can go home and watch some real basketball. That candor might be hard for the members of the girls' basketball team at John Marshall Metropolitan High School to hear, but they listen. They know this is a woman who can take them places. For 40 years, Gators has brought respect and pride to a West Side Chicago neighborhood that has seen more than its share of hard times. They understand this and also how much Gators cares about them and their futures, and that's whether they end up playing basketball after high school or not. So I went back to the text, and what I'm trying to figure out is, what does take them places mean? So going back into the text, it talks a bit about their futures. It talks about playing basketball after high school, and it talks about their motivation a bit. So question A, answer A, by explaining how Gators helps many of her players attend college. Well, that talks about after basketball, so maybe that could be one. By describing the long hours of practice Gators makes her players perform. Well, that kind of talks about in the season. C, by providing examples of how Gators helps players in need. That kind of talks about what they need now. D, by providing examples of basketball tips Gators teaches her players. That kind of talks about in the season too. So it makes sense that, well, B just talks about, that's their practice. C kind of makes sense because she's helping them with things that they need, but it's not really talking about their future, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And D, they're getting basketball tips, but again, that's in the season, so that's not really talking about their future. And taking them places is talking about their future. So I'm going to confidently say my answer is A. So let's take a look at another one. Here's question 29. What does take it up a notch mean as it is used in paragraph 4? A, to make more interesting. B, to become more forceful. C, to complete another level. D, to make another play. So what is it that I need to do? I kind of have an idea because I've been reading it as information in this part. But before I just say, oh, this answer seems good enough, there's something I should probably do next. What should I do next? You probably guessed it. I should probably go back to the text. So it says paragraph 4, so I'm going to read around 4 and look at 3, 4, and 5. So let's take a look at what these paragraphs say. Move your feet, box out, no fouls. If they don't do that, she doesn't hesitate to take it up a notch on the court. You're embarrassing yourselves, she tells them. She is the same even when they're winning handily. So she doesn't hesitate to take it up a notch. So it seems like when kids aren't doing what they should on the court, she gives directions such as this: move your big feet, box out, no fouls. Notice how I'm underlining some of these things in the text. And if that doesn't work, then she goes on to say, you're embarrassing yourselves. So let me look at my answer choices again. Does her response seem A, to make more interesting? I don't think she's trying to be interesting here. B, to become more forceful. It seems like she's pressing them to play better. This makes sense as coach wants the best for her players, but I'll keep reading to make sure there's not a better answer, but I'm going to put a little star here. C, to complete another level. I don't recall reading anything about levels in this article. D, to make another play. And that doesn't really seem what this part is about. So I'm going to select answer B, because I think it's talking about her forceful tone. So it says she doesn't hesitate to take it up a notch. So I think she did that. Move your big feet to you're embarrassing yourselves. I think that's definitely becoming a little more forceful. So it's kind of a circle there. Circle letter B. So readers, now it's your turn to try. With your practice article, first of all, you need to read it. You're going to have to read through it once and then answer the questions for session 2. Session 2 only. It should not be more than 2 or 3 questions, probably 2. Do not go on to session 3. Do not go on to session 4. Session 2 only. As you answer these questions, use your narrative nonfiction reading skills to have an inner conversation and do the work before choosing the answer. If you notice, for all those questions, I was talking to myself as I went. So make sure you are having that inner conversation with yourself. Rationalize why it's the correct answer. Session 2 questions. Happy reading.